My name is Graham Wood. I'm an occasional visitor to St Nick's, more often than not to enjoy the services, but sometimes in an official capacity as the Diocesan Chancellor, responsible for giving permission to alter historic church buildings. But I want to share a reflection in the role of my full daytime job as the Senior Circuit Judge in charge of the civil courts in Cheshire and Merseyside, which are responsible for resolving every imaginable dispute, from money matters through housing, welfare, medical negligence, antisocial behaviour, health and safety at work, through to major commercial disagreements at the other end of the scale. We work closely with the criminal courts, which protect the public by punishing crime, and the family courts, which protect vulnerable children and families. So the 200 or so courts and tribunals in this region, which cover the whole gamut of society behaviour and daily affairs, make up the justice system. The administration of justice should be quietly ticking over, occasionally exciting public interest with the odd case, but mainly with judges, lawyers, and all those working behind the scenes, striving to maintain a just and fair society. But if the system depends on people interacting in close proximity by talking, arguing, giving evidence and that sort of thing, it won't be surprising to hear that in coronavirus pandemic lockdown, it's proving very, very difficult to keep the wheels of justice turning. Some might say that the harm from having no access to justice is worse than injustice arising from wrong court decisions, and I'm inclined to agree. The victim of domestic violence, or the tenant wrongly evicted, the builder about to go bust because his customer has refused to pay for an expensive extension, elderly residents being driven to distraction by antisocial yobbish behaviour. These are all situations which require judicial intervention. And how do you do that if you can't get parties before you and hear cases to make decision on who is right and where the truth lies? Again, it won't surprise you to hear that the response to the pandemic has been to create remote justice, perhaps a contradiction in terms of the dictionary definition of remote includes slight, faint, inconsiderable, which is how many might feel about court decisions by way of telephone and video link, like poor Olelekan Hamid, who last week appeared before the Nigerian State High Court in Lagos by Zoom and was told he was being sentenced to death. Can you believe it? But some justice is better than no justice, and we've embraced the idea with a little initial reluctance, but some growing enthusiasm the longer the lockdown has continued. The image of the ageing and crusty judge, the technophobe Luddite, out of touch with modern ways, is being rapidly dispelled as my colleagues and I get to grips with video technology, slipping seamlessly from one virtual breakout room to another, opening and sharing e-bundles, learning that platforms aren't just found at railway stations. In fact, many are looking at the cost saving and wonder if perhaps this is the way forward. Think what remote justice could achieve. Larger courts could be mothballed or become pop-up nightingales. The cost of court staff could be avoided. People could be sent to virtual prisons, deprived of any social media access for months or years, depending on the crime. If it's working now, why not carry on? Maybe even eventually replace judges with artificial intelligence. Yes, it does work, of sorts, but on a serious note, there is a significant missing ingredient: real people. Human beings were meant to interact with each other, to live in society and not in isolation. And just as the court can make a decision that's fair and balanced when real people are present and doing what real people do, that is expressing real feelings, emotions, reactions, instead of appearing as a virtual image on the screen, so individuals can be satisfied in the presence of a real decision maker that they're being listened to and understood. And this is what fairness is all about. In the account of the Passion, we remember the unfairness of the crucifixion, and yet the restoring resurrection of God's Son as a divine intervention in the affairs of humanity. By being tangible and accessible to all, God was no longer delivering a remote kind of justice. He was now present among his people. And for me, that is an inescapable analogy as I reflect on justice in lockdown.